right, let's get this show underway. There we go. I think we are live. How's it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, March 22nd. Hopefully this is coming through loud and clear and you can see me and hear me. Let's see, just waiting for this to pop through. We should be streaming on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. So if this is coming through loud and clear, please let me know. Let me know. Let's see here. Robert's saying, are you feeling better? Yes and no. I'll talk more about that shortly. Just want to make sure this is coming through. JP's joining in loud and clear. Good stuff. AJ says, I'm early. Actually, no, I'm not. This is the normal time, but the times have changed. So depending on where you're located, I don't know if the daylight savings time, I mean, that happened a little while ago now, but hopefully that's synced up because I know North America and other places, I think they changed their times differently, but we recently did go through the whole daylight savings time change. But this is the normal time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. It is North American Eastern time. Socrates joining in loud and clear. And we have loud and clear coming through here from the Facebook group. Awesome. One thing I should mention, excuse me, is if you're tuning in from the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, unless you sync up with StreamYard, which is the service that we're using here, it doesn't give me your name. It just gives me a Facebook user. So I get this anonymous picture here. So I won't be able to address you by name unless you sync that up. In fact, what I'm going to do for those of you who are tuning in from the Facebook group, because we do have a lot of people pop on from there, I'm just going to get the link and post it there into the chat window so you can sync that up. Well, we're waiting for some people to pop on here now. So where's it to? Just a second now. I'm going to get that link. Right here it should be. Cool. So I'm just going to share this with you. Just give me a second now. Where's that to? I lost my place here. For those of you who are tuning in from the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, I just posted a link into our chat window. You need to just go in there and just click on the things to accept the settings so it syncs up StreamYard and Facebook, and then that will avoid this anonymous user from popping up and will actually address you by name instead. All right, let's see who else we got there. Got Tyler joining in. Welcome, Tyler. What did he say? He said, I rode my dory in on time to make it to the live show. Good for you. Glad you're here. Socrates from the UK at 9 p.m. is a late one over there. All right. Welcome. Glad to have you joining in. Good stuff. All right. So this is coming through loud and clear, obviously, and I'm glad to hear that you are popping on. And just want to give you an update now how this works. This regular thing, the live video chats that we do, is something I try to do every Friday, or at least most Fridays. And I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to health and wellness and fitness and nutrition, any specific challenges for regards to building muscle, losing fat, with regards to your workouts, your nutrition plan. Feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best I can to help you out over the course of our chat today. We had some questions submitted in advance from some of our regular members, so I'll be addressing those shortly. But one thing that I just want to touch on, for those of you who've seen my recent video that I posted yesterday or have been following along with me over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, you know, I've been under the weather this past week, so I'm actually quite grateful that I'm able to do this video chat here today, because a few days ago, I certainly would not be feeling up to it. Unfortunately, I tested positive for COVID on Monday, and this week has been pretty much a write-off for me. I haven't had much energy and much get up and go to do anything this week. but it's starting to ease up. I mean, I'm still testing positive, so I'm not out of the woods yet, but I'm starting to have more energy and able to do stuff. Hence the reason I'm doing this live stream today. But earlier the week, like if this was Monday or Tuesday or even Wednesday for that matter, hell no, I would not be doing that today. So if I do have a tickle in my throat, I do apologize, but that's the reason why. And for me, the biggest issue that I had, it wasn't so much, I guess, the coughing or the congestion or whatever. It was just lack of energy and aches and pains. So, going through the fevers and the chills and the aches and the pains, but then the lack of energy and just lack of motivation to do anything. And I've never felt like that before. I mean, my motivation was so low. Like earlier in the week, I'd even just try and like distract myself and watch TV, and I turn on the television and start watching something. Like I don't even have the attention span to watch TV at the moment, so I want to go back to bed. It was sad. It really was. Like, I mean, I've never felt that blah, if you will, like just that zero motivation to do anything. And didn't want to eat, didn't want to do anything, didn't even want to watch TV. That's how lazy and just feeling like a sack of useless, what. But it's starting to ease up, and our last couple days now, like Thursday and today, I've actually been able to be somewhat productive, which feels pretty good. So hopefully I'll be able to have a productive video chat with you here today as well. And while I'm waiting for some people to pop into our chat and type in their questions and topics of discussion, I'm going to address one that was sent in advance by Rocco. Rocco sent this one in to me earlier, a few days ago, actually. And he's got two questions there, and I'm just going to address them one by one because two totally different questions. But the first one is a good one because he says, I'm doing a full body workout twice a week. And he says, I think they're going great. I've seen some results in lean muscle, in gaining muscle in my arms, my shoulders, my back, my legs, etc., which is great. But I'm having problems seeing a difference in my stomach. Still have a bit of fat, no abs. Says I'm 5'10", 13 stone, 4 pounds. My diet is, and he lists off the foods that he's eaten. They're basically trying to eat a clean, healthy diet. He says protein, yogurt for breakfast, tuna sandwich, and spinach for lunch, dinners, turkey and potatoes, and he has Greek yogurt at night. He says, is this something that's going to take time? Do you think I'm on the right track or not? Give me some advice. Like, what am I doing wrong? And this is a common question that I hear from a lot of people. Like they'll give me their quote unquote diet and what they're doing and stuff, and ask for feedback and critique. And we need to look under the hood, so to speak, because there's a lot more going on than what was just in that email. And so I started to dig a bit deeper, and I was asking him, like, tell me more about this. How long have you been following this diet? What kind of results are you getting? Right? Probing for some more information. And through several email discussions back and forth, he finally admitted, well, I don't follow this diet all the time, right? I screw up on the weekends, and that's when I'll go off the diet, and that's when I'll have some junk food, and I'll have some chips and crisps and sweets and whatever. So he's following a healthy diet for most of the week, but then falls off the rails on the weekend. And this is a common thing, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can probably relate. It's when you're busy with your work and chores and responsibilities, and you kind of have a schedule in place, like most people do, say Monday to Friday, and then the weekend rolls around, that's when things fall to the wayside. Like that's when your eating habits change. That's when your day-to-day habits change, especially if you work a Monday to Friday job, and now on the weekends you have some flexibility there where you're going to go out and do things, spend time with family. You're going to go out to dinner a lot of times, or you're going to have family get-togethers and all that kind of stuff. That's usually if you're going to have your cheat or your whatever, that's usually going to happen on the weekends. So this is the way most people approach their fitness and nutrition, is they're pretty good during the week, and then it falls off the rails during the weekends. And just to kind of share this, this is something I posted up on the the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group a while back. This is the way most people's nutrition tends to look. Let's see if I can make that a bit bigger. Oops, I got something there. Questions popping up here. Sorry about that, guys. Close that out. Actually, let me make this. See if I can actually open that. Open image in a new tab. Let's see there. Let's try that one instead. Actually, no, I got to stop share screen, and I got to do a share screen again because I want to open this image in a new tab without having my Facebook Messenger popping up here and sharing it to the world. There we go. Let's try this. All right, I think that's better. All right, so this right here, this is the way most people's diet goes. So like Monday, right? You're eating clean, and let's just say you're on a fat loss program. You have yourself a 500 calorie deficit. Tuesday, same thing, eating clean, got a calorie deficit. Wednesday, eating clean, calorie deficit. Thursday, eating clean, calorie deficit. Friday, you start off with the best of intentions, right? This is Friday and starting off the best of intentions, but by the end of the day, it's like, oh, after a hard week of work, blah, 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 let's have some pizza and beer, right? Let's celebrate, right? Let's kick back and let off some steam, right? So no, you're no longer in a calorie deficit. Now you're actually in a surplus. And then on Saturday, well, hey, it's the weekend. We got to enjoy ourselves a bit. You have a bit more of a calorie surplus. And then after, like, oh, geez, I blew the diet on Friday, blew it on Saturday. Well, screw it. Definitely going to blow it on Sunday, right? Going to get all those cravings out of my system because, hey, we're going to start again on Monday. So this is the way 90+% of fat loss diets where people struggle. This is what happens. They have the best of intentions, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's pretty good. And then it all falls to shit on the weekends, right? The arse drops out of her and then everything goes to hell west and crooked. And you can easily undo whatever calorie deficit you did earlier in the week with cheating on the weekends. And this is something that you really have to dial in, right? This is a challenge. And I'm not saying that you're never allowed to have a cheat meal or a treat meal or anything like that, but you have to really look at the bigger picture. And sometimes when people have a cheat day, especially on the weekends, they say, well, I've been clean all week. I'm going to have a cheat day. You can easily undo a full week of dieting with a single cheat day. In fact, even if it's a couple big cheat meals, you can undo a full week of dieting. So you have to find ways to enjoy the foods you like and make it fit within your overall caloric limits. And this is a challenge. It really is. And this is something that we really focus on helping guys with in the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program, is how can you still eat well so that you're achieving your fitness and fat loss goals, making good food choices, enjoying the foods you're eating, but then do so that you're not going hungry, you're not feeling like you're depriving yourself on some crazy diet, and finding that compromise in the middle. And it's not a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter answer. It's not, because everyone is unique, and some people have certain things that they are not willing to give up or to sacrifice in order to achieve their fitness goals. So we have to make compromises in other areas. And it's really a unique individual situation. I mean, the easiest thing to do is just say, hey, everybody's go on a boiled chicken and broccoli diet and 2 hours of cardio a day, suffer it out. And yeah, you'll lose weight that way. And absolutely you will. I mean, if you eat nothing but boiled chicken and broccoli, you do 2 hours of cardio a day and you hit the gym 6 days a week, yeah, you'll see progress. I guarantee it. But is that the way you can see yourself going for the rest of your life? I mean, heck, is that something you could even do for a matter of 2 or 3 weeks without breaking? Probably not. I mean, unless you have high levels of willpower, you're not going to be able to sustain that. And that's where the challenge comes. It's how do you make this work in a sustainable, realistic plan over the long term? And not just having a diet plan or like, okay, for the next 6 weeks or the next 12 weeks or the next whatever, but for the rest of my life, this is the way I'm going to eat and this is the way I'm going to make it work, right? Like that's the challenge for a lot of people. And this is something that we really go into a lot of detail within our VIP coaching program to help people figure this out. But one thing such as like, well, what's the best macros for achieving something? Like, hey, what's the best macros for fat loss, or what's the best macros for this or that and the other thing? And quite honestly, I really don't give a shit about the macros that you count. I'm more interested in the macros that you're not counting because those are the ones that are holding you back, not the ones that you're counting. And I see this a lot, even with some of my coaching students, like people who've tried to go through the program and they say, well, I'm doing my best. I'm really trying hard. And then, okay, well, let's look at your diet logs. Like, let's look at your MyFitnessPal or whatever. And then I see 3 or 4 days of entries. And then, they tally it up and, okay, they're in a calorie deficit for 3 or 4 days in a row. And then for another 2 or 3 days, there's nothing entered. Like, just MyFitnessPal is blank. And then they start logging food entries again for another 3 or 4 days. And then there might be several days blank. And then might be a week or two blank, and then they start logging food again. And I'm thinking, okay, all these days that are blank, does that mean you're eating nothing? Right? Or does that mean the food choices were so bad that you don't even want to acknowledge it and record it? Right? Chances are that's the reality. So it's not the macros that they're tracking that I'm worried about. It's the macros that they're not tracking that I'm worried about. And that's the ones that are holding you back and causing you to struggle with the fat loss. Right? So it really goes beyond just the macros, right? It comes down to the bigger picture and learning how to be good enough, but good enough consistently over the long term. So I wish like I could just give you the cookie cutter answer, and that's what most people would do. They say, hey, I'm eating this and that and the other thing, right? And I'm not losing weight. Someone will just say, hey, well, just cut your carbs, or just go keto, or just start intermittent fasting, or just man up, right? Don't be a pussy or whatever, give you some BS advice like that. But you really have to look at the bigger picture and seeing like, where is it? What are those vices that are holding you back, and how can we modify them in such a way that even if it's not perfect, how can it be better than it was before? Right. And some of the most common vices, especially when it comes to fat loss, right, is not even food related. Alcohol consumption, especially on the weekends. Like, how many people drink alcohol on the weekends, right? Raise your hand if you're guilty. I can't see your hand if you're home by yourself, but a lot of people do, right? And that is one of the single biggest things that's going to hold back your fat loss, alcohol consumption, because it's not just the calories. Like, some people say, well, it's not so bad. I only drink light beer, or I only drink, I drink my whiskey straight, right? Or I don't put any mix in it or something. It's not the calories, so to speak, even though alcohol is very calorie dense. It's 7 calories per gram. It's the fact that when there's alcohol in your system, it literally puts the brakes on fat burning. Nothing gets metabolized, nothing gets burnt when there's alcohol in your system. That takes priority over everything else. And then all the food you eat, the body fat you have, that all gets put into storage mode, and nothing gets burned until your body metabolizes that alcohol down to 0 blood alcohol. And then you can go about burning calories as normal, meaning metabolizing the food you eat or metabolizing stored body fat for energy. But if there's alcohol in your system, nothing's getting burned. So if you're regularly drinking alcohol, you're regularly putting the brakes on fat burning, even if you're eating healthy, right? Right. That's another thing. Like, a lot of people say, I eat healthy, right? Well, you can eat healthy and you can still eat too darn much too, right? So all these little things come into play, right? It's not just, am I eating healthy, or am I not eating healthy? Or I don't eat McDonald's, how come I'm overweight? Well, it's not McDonald's fault, right? Like, you could actually still eat McDonald's as long as you're in a calorie deficit and make it work, right? You have to look at the bigger picture, and it's all these things that come into play, not just individual things like, okay, what's the best macro count, or what's the best this, or what's the best that. It's the entire bigger picture perspective that you need to look at, and everything counts, right? Even the calories that you don't track, those are the ones that still count, and the chances are those are the ones that are holding you back when it comes to reaching your fitness and fat loss goals. So if you would like some help to really like dissect this into detail, and like to really come up with a solid action plan, then this is something that we can certainly discuss. I mean, if you want, feel free to reach out to me, send me an email or a message through Facebook, and we can chat about, your individual situation, what it is that you feel you're struggling with, and lay out a step-by-step action plan on how you can be better than you were before. And it doesn't have to be going on the strict boiled chicken and broccoli starvation cutting diet or any of that stuff. It can be a sustainable, enjoyable plan, but it has to be better than you were before. It has to be, you have to have progressive overload with your diet, right? I don't have to go from 0 to hero, but it's got to be in a progressive overload fashion. And then finding that sweet spot where you can, quote unquote, diet on as high of a calorie intake as possible while still making progress. And that's the kicker. Like, most people take the opposite approach when they try training for fat loss, is they think like, how low can I go? Like, how far can I slash my calories? How much can I suffer it out? And they just start. Sometimes I'll get someone who's like a 250-pound man saying, oh, I'm going to go on 1,000 calorie a day diet and just going to get shredded. I'm going to go on a serious cut. That's overkill. Like, if you're normally burning, let's just say 3,000 calories a day is your maintenance, you don't need to slash it down to 1,000 in order to lose body fat. You just need to be better than you were before, right? That's it. The smaller the deficit, the better and more sustainable it's going to be long term. The more you're going to be able to hold out and do it longer so you actually achieve the results, versus trying to suffer it out with this massive calorie deficit that you can only sustain for a few weeks before you throw in the towel and quit. And that's the way most people go about it. So again, if you'd like some help with this, feel free to reach out to me, and I've got my contact details down below in the description below this video. Excuse me. Right. But it was an interesting question that I wanted to acknowledge, because it's one that I get this question over and over again from different people. I mean, you can insert different variables and stuff like that, but it's a similar situation where, this is what I'm doing. And then once we start digging deeper, we realize your planned diet is not the problem. It's your unplanned diet. The diet you're tracking and stuff is not the problem. It's the diet you're not tracking. Right? When you go off the rails on the weekend, right? When you do, dip into the bottle, when you're out with your buddies, and the pizza and the beer and the junk food and everything else, or you're making those late night raids to the convenience store, or whatever it is, or to the ice cream shop, or to the donut shop. Like, it's all that stuff that's throwing you off. It's not your planned calories and macros and the stuff that you're proud to track in MyFitnessPal. It's the stuff that you're ashamed to post in MyFitnessPal. That's the stuff that's holding you back. All right, what else? We got another question that came through here I want to address, and this one's a training related question that I've been seeing pop up on YouTube quite a bit, and you've probably seen it yourself if you follow YouTube Fitness. So he was asking, what's my opinion on Mike Mentzer's close grip pull downs for building the biceps? And there's been videos about Mike Mentzer really resurfacing a lot lately, some of these old seminar videos. And in one of them, he was talking about doing an underhand grip lat pull down, saying that it's the best bicep exercise in the world. And just wanted to know my opinion on it. And first off, it is a good exercise. There's no doubt about it. I mean, an underhand grip lat pull down, obviously it's going to hit the lats. That's the primary muscle. But it's going to bring in the biceps and the forearms as secondary and supporting muscles. Is it ideal, or is it the best bicep exercise in the world? I wouldn't go that far by any stretch of the imagination. If you enjoy it and you feel that it works for you, I mean, you could certainly include it in your workouts. But I don't believe that there is truly any one best exercise for everybody, because not every exercise works for everybody. And depending on your structure or your leverages, just your body mechanics, you may feel certain muscles more so than others. Like, if we take the opposite approach, like let's just say bench presses, obviously that's designed to build the chest, but a secondary muscle group that comes into play is the triceps. So some people find that they get a killer tricep workout when they do bench presses. If that's you and you want to build your triceps, then hey, that's great. But not everybody. Like, some people don't feel a lot of tricep stimulation when they do bench presses. Some people do, right? Same thing when it comes to the lat pull downs. Like, some people may feel they get a really good bicep stimulation from the lat pull down. Some people may not. So to say that it's the best bicep builder in the world, I mean, it may be for somebody, but it doesn't automatically mean it is for everybody. And I'm more of a fan of taking a well-rounded approach and doing a variety of different exercises for your muscle groups, and to see what you respond to the best, what ones you get that mind muscle connection with the best, and then choose those as your exercises. So to answer the question, like, is it the best exercise? Try it. If you feel that it is for you and it works well for you, then hey, by all means, go for it. Keep using it until you feel that you're hitting a plateau with it. But at the same time, if it's not, like you're doing it and just feels like you're going through the motions, but you're like, man, I don't really think I'm getting much out of this, then try another variation, right? Try a different movement and pattern instead, or different exercises. Or if you're trying to build the biceps, incorporate bicep isolation moves, different curl variations, whether that's barbell, dumbbell, machine curls, cable curls, whatever, all the different angles and variations, and just see what works the best for you and your body type. And this is something that I really have a lot of appreciation with when I'm working with my one-on-one coaching students, because sometimes we'll start off with a similar training template, like especially when I'm training people one-on-one in the gym. And we'll go through it. Like one person may like a particular exercise or a particular movement or machine or whatever, and works great for them. And then I take someone else and we try that same exercise, and it's just like, oh, it doesn't work. Either their body's not suited for that machine, they just can't feel the muscle working the same, and then we have to try something else. And you'll find that everybody's body is unique, right? There's not like this one size fits all for everybody. And this is where having a coach who can help guide you in this can really help you to fine tune it versus just taking everything on blind faith. Because, just because Mike Mentzer says it's the best exercise doesn't mean it is, right? I mean, like, I got respect for Mike. I mean, he certainly contributed a lot to the Iron Game over the years. And I followed a lot of his stuff and read all these articles and a lot of these books and courses and stuff like that over the years. But I don't believe and take everything that he says as gospel, right? I mean, you have to realize there's a lot of personal opinion and bias and everything else in there. So I try to be very open-minded and realize, you know what, it might be ideal for some people, but it doesn't mean it's perfect for everybody, right? You have to find what works the best for you. And sometimes having a coach who can guide you in that direction can certainly help. All right, let's see what else we got there. I got some questions coming through in our video chat, which is great. All right. Excuse me, guys. All right, let's jump into some Q&A that's coming through here live. Health first. Sometimes we got to rest up, sweat it out, and get back at it only after we're ready to go. From Belgium. Thank you much. Appreciate that. Steven's joining in. A little late for the Q&A. Just got home from the gym. I'm glad to have you joining us. We're really just getting warmed up. We have Ted joining in. Welcome. Dave joining in. Hope you're feeling better. Have you had any experience with the energy supplement dextrose? What are your thoughts? All right. The energy supplement dextrose. That's an interesting way of putting it. And it is, of all the supplements, we can truly call this one an energy supplement because it actually is a source of energy. All dextrose is a fast absorbing sugar. That's it. It's rapidly absorbing sugar. I mean, there's nothing special about it. I mean, some people, it's classified as a supplement, if you will, but it's really just sugar, right? That's it. It's just rapidly absorbing sugar. Where this would be applicable from a sports performance point of view is for people who are doing exercises where they're burning through a lot of calories, long duration, and you need to replenish your blood sugar, right? You need to replenish your glycogen stores. You need to keep your blood sugars elevated because you're burning through calories at such a high level. So endurance athletes, especially long distance endurance athletes, this is where this would come into play. From a bodybuilding, weight training point of view, or general fitness enthusiast point of view, do you need to supplement or take dextrose? Not really. And I'm going to kind of break it down and give you an analogy of how this would work. First off, your body stores glycogen, which is just stored carbohydrate, stored sugar in the muscle cells. That's known as glycogen, right? When you eat carbohydrates and it gets broken down and absorbed and stored in the cells, it's stored glycogen. When you exercise, your body's going to release that glycogen to be utilized for fuel during your workouts. And If your workouts are 2 hours or less, you're going to have more than enough glycogen in your system to get through that workout. So you don't need to be drinking high sugar sports drinks that contain dextrose or anything like that. You'll have more than enough energy in your system, right? In your muscle glycogen, in your liver glycogen to get through a 2 hour workout or less. So if your workouts are less than 2 hours, there's no need to be supplementing or taking extra dextrose or any other carbohydrate supplement, because assuming that you're in a, especially if you're trying to lose body fat, that's just going to hinder you from burning body fat, right? So the only time you would have that is if your workouts go beyond that 2 hour mark, right? Or you're doing high intensity training, like for example, like if someone's running a race or doing like when I was doing cycling races and stuff like that, I would put the carbohydrate powder in my water bottles and have like carbohydrate gels to get me through those long duration cycling events. But for the shorter events, I would be very minimal with it. But for the longer events that took, 3 hours plus, absolutely, I would be consuming that to keep the carbohydrates and the blood sugar topped up. So that's the big thing. And you need to look at it from your perspective and whether or not you need it. Or, for the average person who's working out, say like 3 days a week, your workouts take an hour or less, you don't need to have anything like that. Would be a waste, and it would just be a source of extra empty calories and potentially hindering your fat burning. You'd be much better off to skip it and to utilize the stored glycogen in your system, and then to tap into burning stored body fat for energy versus spiking your blood sugar with the carbohydrate supplements like dextrose and hindering the fat burning process. So, it really depends on the situation. But when I'm training at the gym, I do not take it. The only time I will have it is when I'm doing long duration cycling. And for me, that's when it's 3+ hours. If it's 3+ hours on the bike, then I will be supplementing with carbohydrates during those rides to keep my blood sugar and glycogen levels topped up. All right, let's see what's doing. Another question here. Socrates. How do you return to training from a major setback? I'm currently recuperating from a bilateral Achilles tendon tear. Yes, both legs, sadly, early stages. Ouch. That sucks big time, especially when it is a lower body injury like that, because that's going to hinder a lot of things. If you had upper body injuries, you can still do cardiovascular exercise and you can still work around it. But when you have a lower body injuries, i.e. the Achilles tendon, that is a major setback for sure, right? I'm sorry to hear that. And the big one for here is obviously you have to pay attention to your doctor or your surgeon or whoever is working on you here now to get you through your rehab phase and follow their advice. But when you're able to get yourself to the gym, like even if you're on crutches, like you can still work around it and do things with your other body parts. So in your situation, you're not going to be able to do anything with your lower body, but you should still be able to do some things with your upper body. So machine exercises, especially things that you can do when you're seated. So like a seated chest press or seated row exercise or seated lat pull downs or seated bicep curls or seated shoulder presses or something along those lines with machines that support you, with a back support and everything else. You should be able to work around and do those. I mean, obviously you're going to have to train very light and be cautious, because in that situation, like you can't, depending on what kind of setup or casts or braces you have on your feet and legs now for your Achilles tendon, you got to be very careful with that, right? I mean, you can't place any excess strain there, but chances are you are going to be able to work around those injuries by doing things that you can with your non-injured body parts. And this is stuff that I did. Like prime example, I mean, several years back, I tore both biceps. So obviously a lot of upper body training was out of the question, but I could still do some lower body work, especially with machines, still do cardio. So you could still do something. Something's better than nothing. And I remember in my wife's situation a while back, she broke her wrist, and so obviously she couldn't do any upper body training, but she still did cardio. She still did like some abdominal and some core work, and still did leg training. So like she still was able to keep herself active, focusing on what she could do rather than focusing on what she couldn't do. And I find that that's a great way to not only continue to make progress during your recovery, but it's also a great way to keep your mental sanity. Because if you go from very fit and active to having a major setback, that's going to be more mental stress than the physical stress, right? Like you crave exercise and you really feel like you're useless if you're not able to do it. So focusing on what you can do is going to be a big one for sure. But that's something you're going to have to discuss with, again, your doctor or your surgeon or whoever is doing your physio and your rehab and stuff like that, to see what you can and can't do. But as soon as possible, I would recommend getting yourself back into the gym and doing some sort of upper body workout using machines. Obviously, free weights and things like that are going to be out of the question, but machines that you can do in a seated fashion should be able to, should allow you to work around those injuries. Excuse me, guys. CJ says, if I have low T and I don't want to go on TRT, should I even bother lifting? Yes. It's a simple answer, yes. Because even with low testosterone, you can still make progress in the gym. Testosterone is not the be-all, end-all. And one of the best ways to naturally improve your testosterone is through proper nutrition and proper exercise, especially strength training exercise. I actually made a video on YouTube talking about building muscle with low testosterone. I'll see if I can go actually dig that one up for you. Where's it to? See if I can find that there. But if you do a search on YouTube for Lee Hayward, low testosterone, it should pop up. Let me just see if I can find it for you. It says, can you build muscle with low testosterone? I'm going to just share that link into our video chat window there, so you can go check that one out. And again, this is for CJ, low testosterone. I can't even type. I'm just calling it low testosterone video. You'll know what I'm talking about. But there you go. You can go check that one out. And I go into detail talking about how you can actually still build muscle with low testosterone. And just to kind of put things in perspective, I mean, will it be as beneficial as if you had optimal testosterone? No, but can it still work? Yes. And a prime example, I mean, look at, first off, women who train. Like, women have low testosterone. I mean, compared to a man, like, women have extremely low testosterone. But women who lift weights can still build muscle. They can still get stronger. They can still make progress, like, even though they have low testosterone. So what you're doing by you got one thing that's not optimal, and because of that, now you're going to say, well, I'm not even going to bother lifting. It's like, now you're just cascading this and making a small problem a huge problem. All right, it's almost like people say, well, if I'm not eating healthy, then it's not worth the exercise and it's not worth to do anything. So, like, instead of doing what you can, you end up, it's this all or nothing trap, right? Whereas, like, well, if it can't be perfect, I can't be all in, then screw it, I'm not doing anything. And you got to let go of that all or nothing trap and focus on doing what you can, and something is better than nothing, right? And that's what I'm getting at here. So if you want to try and make the best of the situation, I would certainly incorporate better nutrition habits, better exercise habits, better sleep habits. I mean, those things go a long way to improving your natural testosterone and just your overall health and wellness in general, right? I mean, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than just testosterone alone, right? And with that being said, it's still, why are you not wanting to improve your testosterone? Like, if I was in that situation, I would do everything in my power to try and improve it. I mean, like, this is your life. you have one life to live. Why not try live it to the best instead of just like throwing the towel and say, screw it, I'm just going to be fat and lazy and low testosterone, and I just don't give a shit anymore. Like, bleh, right? Just sit around and go through the motions and wait to die. Like, no, like we have one life to live. Why not do the best you can to try and optimize it? Like, instead of just give up and curl up into a ball, like go down fighting. Like, do whatever you can to improve yourself. Meaning, do whatever you can nutrition wise, do whatever you can supplementation wise, do whatever you can exercise wise. Like, take whatever advantage you can and try and go out there and maximize it to the best of your ability so that you can live life to the fullest. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to be the next Mr. Olympia or anything like that, but you can certainly be better than you are right now and enjoy the process. And that's what it's all about. It's just trying to be the best version of you. And the biggest one is to not quit on yourself, right? Like, saying I'm not even going to bother to try. Like, that's just quitting on yourself. Like, go down fighting, for God's sakes. What else we got there? Brian, I'm lost in the question here, so I'll read this and then hide your question. Brian says, I had a commercial refrigerator about 800 pounds literally collapse on me as I tried to lower the fridge to get through a doorway. My shoulder feels like it's dislocated when I hit a certain motion. It feels painful and loose inside the socket. What does dislocations feel like? Should I bang it back into place like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon? You should go to a freaking doctor is what you should do, or go to the hospital and get that checked out. I have no advice to offer this because I've never dropped refrigerators on my shoulders and dislocated them, and I'm certainly not going to try and pop it into place on my own. Get your ass to the hospital and get that fixed or checked out at least. Right, man. Anyway, I mean, if that's a legit question, I feel sorry for you, but yeah, like sitting and typing questions on Facebook isn't the. You should be at the hospital right now, right, getting that checked out. Let's see what else we got there. This is a follow-up to a question earlier about the setback with the Achilles tendon tear. He says, to add on that, I'm not seeking medical or training advice, just more of a mindset needed to succeed after a massive setback. Yeah, I totally appreciate that. You know, and for full transparency, everything I'm saying here is just general advice. Like, I'm not your doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anybody's doctor. I'm just offering practical advice, but everything that I say, if you have questions or concerns or doesn't feel right, then double check with your doctor. Absolutely. In fact, you should check with your doctor before doing any diet or exercise program. All right, Corbin's joining in. To lose weight, to lose weight, sure your fat be higher than your protein. Should your weight, should I think you mean your fat be higher? It depends on the type of diet you're following, and from a practical point of view, I'm going to say hell no, definitely not. But if you're following a true ketogenic diet, in terms of like the definition of a ketogenic diet is a high fat, low carb, and low protein diet, right? Like most people who follow a bro keto diet, it's not a true keto diet because it's high fat, high protein, kind of like the carnivore type diets where you're basically eating just meat, that type of thing. That's not true keto, because a true keto diet, it's low, super low in carbs, like virtually zero, as low as you can possibly go. And with the fat, it's high, like 80% or more fat, and then probably like 10-15% protein, which is very low as well. So if you're following a true keto diet, which I would never recommend to anybody because I'm just not a huge fan of keto diets. But if that is your diet of choice, then technically, yeah, the fat would be higher than the protein. But that would be like the only scenario where that would be even applicable. And I would definitely not recommend it. Like even most bodybuilders who go on a low carb diet, their fat is not higher than their protein, right? What I recommend for most people, if you're looking for a good place to start for a fat loss program, start with a well-balanced diet. Like 1/3 of your calories from protein, 1/3 of your calories from carbs, and 1/3 of your calories from fat. And when we're saying calories, we're not talking about weight. So 1/3 of your calories from protein, carbs, and fat doesn't mean, say, like 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and 200 grams of fat. Like, that's not 1/3. That's 1/3 in weight, but it's totally disproportionate in terms of calories because fat has 9 calories per gram, whereas protein and carbs only have 4 calories per gram. So if you're looking for 1/3 calories, you'd probably have, and just to throw out a ballpark number here, 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs. That would be equal ratios of protein and carbs. And then for fat, you'd probably have about 85 grams of fat, thereabouts. So, I mean, the exact math might be off about that, but somewhere in that ballpark. So 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, say like 85 grams of fat. That would be 1/3 of your calories from protein, 1/3 of your calories from carbs, 1/3 of your calories from fat. So that's somewhere like a good ballpark that I would recommend to start off with, and then you can adjust it based on how your body responds from there. Yeah. But again, this is it's such an individualized thing, right? It's almost like when people say, like how do you lose fat? What's the best macros? What's the best this and that, right? It's almost like someone just throwing out like, well, what's the best way to make money? Should I get a job? Should I invest in real estate? Should I invest in the stock market? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I start a business? They all work? It's like, what's the best for you? What's your skill set? What do you prefer to do? Like, where where do you have some past experience? It's not just throwing out stuff like, hey, I'd like to make some money. Oh, go start a business. Right. I'd like to make money. Well, go invest in real estate. Go invest in the stock market. Go do this. Go do that. Go buy a lottery ticket. Right? Like, it depends on the individual, right? You can't just throw out random cookie cutter advice. And that's one of the things that really pisses me off on some of these big Facebook groups and stuff where like people will go in there on a group, for example, and they'll say like, hey, I'm just getting started. What do I do? And then next thing you know, they get 100 different replies from all sorts of people who know absolutely nothing about this person. And someone says, hey, bro, cut your carbs. Hey, bro, go keto. Hey, you better go intermittent fasting. Yeah, hit the gym, go hard, do lots of cardio. And they're just throwing out these random bits of advice, like just like throwing shit at the wall and hope some of it sticks. Like, that's no way to help a person. Like, you really need to break it down and to customize a plan for the individual. Right. I mean, that's what we do within the whole coaching program, is like not just throwing out quick one-liners and BS advice and hoping that it sticks. Like, we break down your situation, like your lifestyle, your situation, your goals, what it is you're trying to achieve, and figure out, okay, what are you currently doing? Is it working or not? What's working? What's not? And then we dissect it and focus on making it better than it was before and customize an approach for you as an individual, and not just throwing out these random pieces of advice like, hey, your fat should be higher than your protein, or your protein should be higher than your fat, or like that. There's no wonder there's so much confusion in the fitness industry, and it doesn't have to be. That's the problem. And like, it doesn't have to be, because once you actually get down to the bare, to the brass tacks, this is so ridiculously simple. And it's crazy. Like, a lot of my coaching students, once they've, after going through the program and have achieved their transformation, and then they look back at it, they're like, why did I ever let myself get fat to begin with? Like, I was overthinking this and overcomplicating this for so many years. Why didn't I just start with this to begin with? And I could have saved myself years of heartache, years of pain and struggle and frustration, and have just took the shortcut to getting the results, versus having, trying to figure it out on my own and, suffer in the process and then still not be happy with the results. Like, that's the reality for most people. Like, I know a lot of guys, they've been 10 plus years, sometimes 20 plus years of struggling and trying to wing it and on and off again. And they're still not anywhere closer to hitting their goals, despite all the crap they've been through. Right. So if you're in that situation, like, it would be, you could save yourself so much heartache and trouble if you just get yourself a good coach who's been there, done that, and can take you by the hand and guide you there side by side along the way to get the results you want versus trying to wing it on your own. And again, if that's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out. We can have a chat about it. All right, so let's see what else we got. Lee is joining in here. Lee's a regular to our chats. Says, should I add a touch of salt to my diet? I drink 3 to 4 liters of water a day, but I have no salt on my food. I seem to be getting a cramp in my calf quite regularly. Yeah, that's a sure sign right there. You are lacking electrolytes. You need salt is important. Sodium in general. I mean, so salt is our major source of sodium, but that is a huge electrolyte. And there's such a big misconception in the fitness industry that salt is the bad guy. Like mainstream media say, oh, don't touch salt, it's bad for you. It'll give you a heart attack. It'll give you high blood pressure. If you don't have enough salt in your system, you could die. Like literally. Like if you have too much salt versus too little salt, you're at more of a risk of dying from too little salt than too much. And that is the truth. You need salt for your body to function. Like it's an electrolyte. So all the electrical impulses in your body, in order for your muscles to contract and function properly, they need salt. In order for your body to pull water and nutrients into the cells, it needs salt. It needs that. It needs sodium, technically. I know I'm using salt as the word, but it's sodium is what we're looking for here. You need sodium. It's a critical electrolyte for your body to function. Without it, not only are you going to feel weaker in the gym, not only are you going to feel muscle cramps. I mean, it's going to hinder your exercise performance and your stamina, and you need it. It's not just a nice to have or should I have a little bit or something. You need it, right? It's essential. It's almost like, do I need water? Should I have water or not? I don't think I really need water. I'm just going to stop drinking water. Right, like that's the level that sodium's at, right? It's along that same lines. Like you absolutely need it. Now, fortunately for most people who eat a lot of processed foods, you don't have to worry about it because processed foods are so loaded with sodium that even if you don't add the salt shaker to your food, you're getting lots of sodium indirectly through processed foods. But if you're eating natural unprocessed foods, like your fruits and your vegetables and your lean meats, and you're not adding any external salt, it's very hard to meet it. So you need to purposely add it in there. And I do. I salt my food to taste. When I'm cooking, I add salt. And even when I'm mixing up, like when I'm going to the gym and I'm mixing up a water bottle, like I'll put amino acids and I'll put salt. Like I put, when I have a water bottle like this to go to the gym, I'll put in 5 grams of essential amino acids and I'll put in a half a teaspoon of salt and mix it up. And that's what I'll drink during my workout. Right. I mean, I know that people say, oh, half a teaspoon of salt, and not a lot. That's about 800 milligrams of sodium. And I am a high salt sweater. So like you can actually test your salt rate. I actually have a very high salt sweat rate. So for example, like if I'm wearing a black t-shirt and I sweat, you will see the white salt stains in that t-shirt at the end. So some people are not very high salt sweaters. Some people are, and there's everything from low to high and everything in between. I'm on the higher end. So I need to purposely replenish the salt. And if I don't, I'll experience the muscle cramps just like you're experiencing. So that's a sure sign. If you're getting muscle cramps on a regular basis, that's just add more salt to your diet. It could be as simple as just adding salt to your food. But me personally, I actually add salt to my water bottles when I'm training. That applies like when I'm at the gym, when I go for bike rides or whatever, I always add not only salt to the water bottles and amino acids, and I keep that. It makes a huge difference. Keeps the energy and the stamina, and allows you to train harder, get a better pump in the gym. Like so many benefits. When you have adequate sodium, it pulls the water into the cells where they need to be. It helps to volumize the cell. And a lot of times when people are going on like a low calorie diet and they think they're feeling weak from low calories or low carbs or whatever, a lot of times it's not. It's actually low sodium. So when you start increasing your sodium intake, you'll feel more fuller. You'll get a better pump. You'll get a better muscle contraction. You'll feel stronger in the gym. You'll have more energy, more strength. Like if you don't have enough sodium in your system, you won't be able to fully contract the muscle as hard as it can. So there's so many benefits. And I've wrote blog posts. I made videos about this. I'm actually going to share one into our video chat there now real quick. That'll kind of explain this in more detail. There's, if you go on my blog, leehayward.com, and search for sodium, you'll find it. Here's one, one blog post. I have a couple of them, but I'm just going to share this one here in our chat window. It's called "How Much Sodium Should You Have Per Day?" A second, I'm going to share that with us. That should be in there in the chat window, so you can go check that out after. Let's see if I can find any more there. Sodium to improve athletic performance. I'll share that one as well. A second now. Well, it's not coming through there. And if you go on YouTube, I've got some videos on YouTube talking about salt as well. Even some simple tricks to overcome muscle cramps when you're at the gym. A second, I'm going to find that for you as well. Shit, I can't find it there off the top of my head. Anyway, the link that I posted just there, that's a good one. You read that one. That'll kind of cover some of the basics there. But I'll probably dig up the other ones and share in a future video. But bottom line, don't shy away from salt. All right, let's see what else we got there. Kevin is joining in. Says, I'm struggling being 59. The carnivore diet has helped me a lot with a 36-hour fast each month. Good for you. I mean, if it's working for you, you're enjoying it, you're seeing results. I mean, I'm not anti-fasting, right? It does have it's another tool in the toolbox, and it certainly can have its place. One of my coaching students was a big fan of the carnivore diet and lost a lot of weight with it. That was Mike Brown. I featured Mike before. For those of you, some of you may be familiar with Mike. Myself and Mike did a video interview talking about his results on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Let me just see if I'm going to share something here now. Okay, yeah, I'm going to share my screen and just use Mike. I love using Mike as an example because he is one of our top students, and Mike is one of those guys who works his ass off, and when he commits to doing something, he gets it done. Right? He's a self-proclaimed OCD, but he uses it to his advantage. All right, I just want to share this right here. So this was Mike's transformation, and he's actually even better than that again. He's currently now preparing for a master's bodybuilding competition. So just to give you a background on Mike, he started working out at 56 years of age. So started working out with weights at 56. So this was his before picture right here in 2020. Wasn't, like a former bodybuilder or former athlete or anything like that. This was his starting point, 2020. And he did 1 year of keto intermittent fasting. Actually, it was carnivore intermittent fasting, where he was eating nothing but meat and an intermittent fasting schedule for a full year. And he lost a lot of body fat. He lost a lot of weight. But he wasn't happy with how his physique looked after that year. Like he did lose the weight, but he looked flat. He looked skinny. He looked depleted. And also his cholesterol levels went through the roof. Like some people, when they go on a carnivore diet or a low carb keto type diet, they can maintain normal cholesterol levels. But in Mike's case, eating all that fat and all that, did not work well. His cholesterol levels just went skyrocketed, and his doctor was concerned. He said, like, man, this is not good, right? Your cholesterol numbers are off the charts. So he actually said, okay, I need to make a change. That's when he came on board with the Muscle After 40 blueprint. So from 2021, that's when he came on board with me and we started to work together. 2022, right? He filled that. This is when we got off the keto, got off the intermittent fasting. We started frequent, well-balanced meals. So adding in carbohydrates, adding in quality protein, adding in meals. So now he's eating 5 times a day and focusing on protein and carbohydrates and well-balanced nutrition. was able to fill out his frame and add lean muscle and still get leaner. And then he did that again throughout 2023, made even better gains. So he's really filled out his frame. So this right here, this in the red shorts, that's on high carb, high protein, high frequent feedings. Whereas 2021, that's on intermittent fasting carnivore. So again, I'm not saying that it didn't help. I mean, it did help him to lose some of that body fat, but it didn't help him to achieve the lean muscular body recomposition that he wanted. So this is when we started incorporating more feedings, more protein, more carbs, more of a bodybuilding style meal plan. And that's when his physique really started to recomp. And we're still doing that now. That's what he's doing. And he's actually in the process now this year. He's going to be doing a master's bodybuilding competition because he's at the stage where he just wants to take it to that next level and go for it, right? So he's 60 years old and he wants to do a bodybuilding show for the first time, right? So, I mean, kudos to him for doing that. But you can see the difference, right? Like, just because people eat carbs doesn't mean that you're going to get soft and fat and mushy. In fact, it was the complete opposite. He got lean and muscular and jacked, eating more carbs, eating more frequent meals, right? But the keto did help him to kickstart the weight loss journey, right? So again, I'm not saying I'm not anti-keto or whatever. I'm just saying it's a tool in the toolbox, but it'll only take you so far. If you really want to build muscle and maximize that lean athletic performance, you need to fuel the machine. You can't starve yourself to a lean muscular physique. All right. Let's stop that screen share. Where else are we? Tyler, how often do you train these days? How do you break up your training sessions in regards to body parts? Well, these days, as in the last week, my training has been zilch. I haven't done jack shit because I've been diagnosed with COVID. It's on Monday. And I'm looking forward to getting back into the gym. That's one thing. Of all the things, I do miss the gym. But personally, how I structure my workouts is I usually do weight training one day and cardio the next. Now, that's a little bit of a lie because I'll probably do cardio every single day. Even if on the days that I weight train, it'll just be a lower intensity cardio session, maybe like going for a walk or something like that. But I usually do weight training one day. And for that, I usually focus on total body workouts, or I might do an upper lower body split. It really depends on what I'm in the mood for, but I usually focus on training multiple muscle groups in a single session. A lot of times it is total body, but if I want to prioritize, say, an upper body or a leg day, I will sometimes do an upper lower split instead. But that's generally how I go about it. And then on my off days from weight training, so weight training one day, and then the next day I'm not going to do any weight training, but I'm going to do cardio. And that's when I'll do more of a high intensity cardio session, a more vigorous cardio session, if you will. So for me, it's usually weight training alternated with cycling. And then to go along with that, I try to do some lower intensity cardio as an extra, just for extra movement, like walking and things like that. Sometimes I don't necessarily count it as a full workout, if you will. Like if I go for a walk outside, I'm just doing it, get outside, enjoy the fresh air, spend some time with my wife and son or whatever. Like, it's not necessarily a workout, but it's extra activity that certainly helps to burn calories and add to the overall calorie expenditure and fat burning for the day. But that's how I structure my workouts: weight training one day, cardio the next, and mostly total body or upper lower body split, something like that. And I'm very flexible with that, So it might be an upper body. Like I know last week when I trained, this is exactly how I did it. I did do a total body workout one day, and then I did do an upper body workout one day, and then a lower body workout. So hit all major muscle groups twice in that week, right? And so that was my 3 weight training workouts. One was a total, one was an upper, one was a lower, right? Something along those lines. But I don't really do body part bro splits anymore, like chest day, back day, leg day. I like to train multiple muscle groups in a single session so that I'm hitting my body parts more frequently. All right. What else we got there? TS is joining in. Second now. I'm trying to. Where is it? There we go. TS. Thank you for your support, my friend. Much appreciated. Says, if I can hit 3 by 10, but adding weight brings me down to 3 by 5, I guess 3 sets of 10. I think that's what it means. If I can do 3 sets of 10, but adding weight brings me down to 3 sets of 5, is that okay? And then work up using double progression, only adding weight till I hit 3 sets of 10. I think I'm picking up what you're laying down. That's fine. That's like, if there's different ways of going about progressive overload. I mean, generally when someone's new to a workout and they're starting off, you could probably keep your sets and reps the same and literally add weight. And because in the early phases of strength training, when someone, say like in their first 6 to 8 weeks of a workout program, there's a lot of things going on. That's not just muscular strength, but it's just technique. It's building the movement patterns. It's building the coordination and all that kind of stuff in addition to the strength. So for a beginner, it's very easy to go up 5 pounds a workout. You know, like just say you're doing chest press with 50 pounds this week, and the next week you do 55 pounds, and the following week you do 60 pounds, and then 65 pounds. And you might be able to go several weeks in a row making those big 5-pound jumps in weight like that week after week after week, and still keep the sets and reps the same. But eventually you're going to get to the point where in order for you to add that extra weight, you're going to have to compromise. So for example, like if you try to increase the weight, you'll either have to lower the repetitions. And then if that's the case, what I'd recommend is you keep that same weight and then just try to build up the repetitions. So for example, like if we use the example of a chest press, instead of trying to keep increasing the weight, you are going to keep the 3 sets of 5 and then focus on, okay, you did 3 sets of 5 this week. Next week, we want to do 3 sets of 6, and then 3 sets of 7, and 3 sets of 8, and 3 sets of 9, 3 sets of 10. Once you get it up there, then you might want to increase the weight and drop the reps back down and then build it up again. So you could work within a repetition range. I would probably work in a higher rep range than 5. 5 is the lowest I would go with repetitions, unless you're a strength and power athlete. Like if you're a power lifter or an Olympic weightlifter or strongman competitor, that's different. But for the average recreational gym goer, 5 reps is the lowest I would go. That's heavy for the average person, right? I would probably recommend going a bit higher and saying like in the 8 to 12 rep range for most people. So like, hey, let's work up to 3 sets of 12. Once you hit 3 sets of 12, up to the next weight, drop the reps back down to 8, and then build it up to 3 sets of 12 again. So you can work within that repetition range and still achieve your progressive overload that way. And you won't have to do that with all exercises. Like some exercises are big enough that you can probably increase the weight and still keep the reps high, like especially leg presses or big heavy movements, maybe even like a big heavy chest press or a row or something like that. You'll probably be able to make small increments in weight and still keep the reps high. But for smaller movements, especially dumbbell exercises or isolation exercises, you're not going to be able to add 5 pounds and still keep the repetitions. You know, there's a big difference between adding 5 pounds to a 200-pound deadlift versus adding 5 pounds to a 20-pound dumbbell curl, right? Like percentage-wise, it's 10x, right? It's huge. 5 pounds to a 20-pound dumbbell curl is 25%, right? Whereas 5 pounds to a 200-pound deadlift, right? You're only a fraction of that. So you have to factor that in there as well. So certain exercises is going to be easier to make those progressive overload jumps in weight, and others you're going to have to focus on making less frequent jumps in weight and then probably working within repetition ranges and making progression that way. And you could also add sets too, right? Like for example, like 3 sets of 10. Next workout, you could try to do 4 sets of 10. Like that's progressive overload as well, like literally adding volume, right? Another way you could do it, especially for the smaller isolation exercises, is to literally slow down your repetition cadence and get more time under tension. I like to do this with exercises like side lateral raises, for example, or bicep curls, or some strict isolation moves instead of just going up in weight, I'll probably keep the same weight, same set, same reps, but just slow it down and really hold that peak contraction. Make sure that I'm muscling up the weight, not swinging it up, and using a slow and controlled tempo so that you're getting maximum muscle activation with that weight, right? So that's another way that you can literally get more time under tension and more muscle activation without actually having to increase the weight or change the set and rep pattern. But again, hopefully that helps. And again, thank you for your support. Much appreciated. Let's see what else we got there. I think I lost my place. Okay, there's a couple questions there. Let's see. Rocher's joining in. Says, hello, Lee. Regarding wrist straps, are they supposed to transfer the weight to the wrist once the grip fails? Thanks. You will feel I don't have a set of wrist straps with me here to demonstrate it, but yeah, the way it works, the wrist straps, the weight is literally going to be suspended from your wrists, and the idea is that it reinforces your grip. So you will feel a lot of strain in the wrist. Hopefully, when you're looking for wrist straps, get ones that are thick and wide so it can disperse the tension across the wrist joint. If you get some of the cheaper straps are thin and they can really cut into your wrist and it's quite uncomfortable. If you can get thicker ones, that'll make it a lot more comfortable. But I actually have a video. It's an old one, but it's an old one and a good one, showing how to use wrist straps. See if I can find it for you here. Or it's just a blog post. That works too. Let's see. I was looking for the video. The video is better than the blog post if I can find it, because the video actually demonstrated. You can see it in action. It was an oldie video. I'm going to see if I can dig it up. Wrist. Let's see if I wrist straps. Jesus, I can't type. Here we go. I made this one 13 years ago. Right? And even then, that's not the oldest videos right there. But here, I'm just going to type it in. It's going to be called wrist straps video. That'll help to explain straps. And the straps that I'm using there, they're good ones because you can see they're really wide and they offer some good support on the wrist versus some of the cheaper, thinner ones that can cut into the wrist. That's what you want, because you want them to be comfortable if you're going to use them, and especially with wrist straps, if they're going to be effective, you're going to be lifting a lot of weight with them, and if they're not comfortable, that's not going to work. Sal's joining in, says, hope you're feeling better, looking good. How often do you switch up your program? I can't seem to stay with the same routine 4 weeks at a time. I always want to try some new exercises. Depending on your situation, there's nothing wrong with trying new exercises. And I try new exercises as well, but I stick with the same structure. So I usually use the same workout structure, but I will vary the exercises within that structure. So like, I'm not always doing barbell flat bench press and 45-degree angle leg press and wide grip lat pull down or whatever. Like, I'm not doing the same exercises over and over and over and over again. I'm changing it up. So like, I might do, okay, I want to do a chest press today, but instead of doing the flat barbell bench press, you know what? I'm going to do the hammer strength incline press, or I'm going to do a dumbbell press, or I'm going to do a chest press machine or whatever, or the Smith machine. Like, it's the same movement pattern, the same basic exercise, but I'll change up the exercise variation depending on the gym that I'm training at, depending on the movement or what I'm in the mood for, depending on what equipment is free, right? I'll change it up. Same with, like leg presses. I might do leg press one day or a hack squat another day, or change up the variations. Like the gym that I train at, Omega Health and Fitness, they've got multiple different leg press machines. That's one of the cool things. They've got one, two, three, at least 4 or 5 different leg press variations, right? Different brands, different styles of leg presses. So, I mean, I won't use the same one all the time. I'll change it up, and I'll actually have personal records written down on all the different ones. So I say, okay, last time I did this variation, this is the weight I lifted, and I might try and, improve upon that for the next time. So, and the same when it comes to other exercises, like, I might do a barbell curl one day, an easy bar curl, a dumbbell curl, a cable curl, a machine curl. It's still a bicep curl. I'm just doing a different bicep curl variation. So you can incorporate new exercises as you see fit and still stick to the same training program, if you will, right? But just realize, obviously, if you're doing a different exercise and a different variation, the weights will vary accordingly. I mean, just like one leg press is not the same as another leg press, or one bicep curl is not the same as another bicep curl. The weights will vary accordingly. So just be aware of that. But you can change up your exercises. Like, you don't have to do the same shit over and over again. Like, you can enjoy your workouts and have some variety in there. I mean, sometimes I'm doing it just for the variety. Sometimes I'm doing it because certain movements feel better. Like, maybe I got a bit of elbow tendonitis that acts up when I do a certain variation of an exercise, but hey, if I use a different handle or a different grip or a different attachment, it doesn't bother it. So you can still change up your workouts, or change up your exercises while still sticking to the same core training program. So, like, for example, I like to do total body workouts, and I still usually do total body workouts, but I'll change up the exercises within those total body workouts. So it doesn't feel like I'm doing the same program over and over again. Kevin's joining in saying, I stopped drinking and started lifting and doubled my testosterone in 2 months at age 59. Man, those are wins stacked on top of wins. Good for you. I think that right there is a killer combo, right? Stop drinking, started lifting. So, like, and to double your testosterone, that makes perfect sense, because drinking lowers testosterone, exercise raises testosterone. So you just whoop, you totally reversed it around there. Congratulations, good for you, my friend. Right, and that's fast too, within 2 months. Right. So for those of you who are sitting on the fence saying, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do it. Do I want to put in the work?" I mean, heck, 2 months, right? Like that's pretty impressive. That's one thing that I'm always shocked. Like, even if you've been neglecting your health and fitness and treating your body like a bag of shit for years on end, it's amazing how fast things can turn around with a bit of positive action. Like, literally within the matter of weeks or months, you can do a full 180, even if it's on top of years of neglect. It's amazing. Like, you can undo a lot of damage if you take action now. Now, with that being said, sometimes you can get to the point where the damage is irreversible. Like, if someone's drinking and smoking and overeating, and they get to the point where, now they've, you got type 2 diabetes or cancer or heart disease or whatever, liver disease. Sometimes the damage is irreversible if it gets to that point. Right? Like, it's like a smoker. Well, I'll quit smoking after I get cancer. Well, the damage is done. It's too late. But if you take action before the damage gets to that point of no return, it's amazing how much progress you can actually make and how fast you can turn things around. But again, it has to be before that point of no return, because once you cross that threshold, all the best of intentions ain't going to turn that around. What else we got there? Any tips on doing RDLs? When I get to heavier weights, it's harder to feel the hamstrings to do the work. That makes perfect sense. And RDLs, they're not, it's not a regular deadlift. Like, a regular deadlift is a power exercise. You want to keep chasing heavier weights and going, pushing for personal bests. The RDL, the Romanian deadlift, I'm not saying you don't want to increase the weights, because you still do, but it's not at the same pace. You're not going to be pushing yourself to the same degree. So once you get to the point where the weight is so heavy that you can no longer feel that mind muscle connection in the hamstrings, it's too heavy, and I want you to back it off and go back to feeling the hamstrings working. not just simply moving the weight for the sake of moving the weight. I want you to move the weight with the mind muscle connection and keep that. And then this is where you can focus on, like, if you feel like it's too easy at that, well, do higher repetitions, do more sets, do more volume at that weight, and then slowly build it up. Slowly, like, just make that little 5-pound increment and see if can you still maintain that mind muscle connection. And if you can, great. And just make these small increments in weight, but do so as long as you're able to maintain that feeling. And once you lose that feeling, then drop the weight back down. And I find this myself, like when I do Romanian deadlifts, I'm not chasing the weights. Like, just, oh, I got to go heavier, just for the sake of a PR and a heavier weight. When I get to the point, like, I'm pyramiding up in weight. If I go to the point where I'm pyramiding up, and all of a sudden, like, wait now, okay, I'm moving the weight. Technically, my form is good, but I'm not feeling the hamstrings anymore. I'll literally drop the weight back down again, right? Because it's about, I'm doing it to build the muscle and to isolate the hamstrings there. I'm not doing it just to try and ego lift and to see how heavy I can go, right? Like, that's not the point of the exercise, right? This isn't a powerlifting meet where the biggest deadlift wins. It's an exercise to stimulate muscle in the hamstrings, right? It's almost the same as like doing bicep curls. Okay, I mean, I can put on the heaviest weight I can throw on the barbell and just start doing cheat curls, but if I don't feel the biceps working, then what's the point, right? It's not a matter of just swinging the weight for swinging the weight, right? I'm there to stimulate the biceps. So lighten the weight to the point where you can actually feel the muscle working, right? That's what you want to do, right? Excuse me. I can't pronounce your name. Zulio, Meko, I think. XM, right? XM says, does the assisted pull-up machine help? I can barely do 4 pull-ups. Yes, it does help. Absolutely. Assisted pull-ups is a great way to build up to eventually doing proper pull-ups. Another way you can do it, you can do negative pull-ups. You can do inverted rows. Obviously, lat pull-downs is another great exercise to build up the strength to do pull-ups. There's a lot of different variations, but by all means, the assisted pull-up machine, there's no shame in using it. I still use the assisted pull-up machine, right? There's nothing wrong with it, right? And it does help. It's not always a perfect carryover, because depending on how the assistance works and the type of machine you're using, like when you're doing a pull-up, your body kind of goes through a natural arc, right? And you're as you're pulling yourself up, like your body is swinging under the weight, and you may not come up in a perfect arc. Whereas when you're using the assisted machine, that prevents that swing and sometimes that natural arc. So it may feel a little different, but you're still hitting the same major muscles, and you're still working those muscles, moving your body through a full range of motion, moving your entire torso, right, through that 3-dimensional full range of motion. Because a pull-up, you're moving your entire body, you're not just moving your limbs, right? That's the advantage here. So yeah, by all means, still use the assisted pull-up machine, but when you're trying to transition over, some good ones that you can incorporate too is assisted rubber band pull-ups, where you go to a regular pull-up bar and like loop a heavy rubber band around it and probably loop it through your knee or through your foot. I got videos showing how to do that as well. I'll post it there in the chat there. Lee Hayward, how to do pull-ups. How to do pull-ups for beginners or something like that. How to do pull-ups for beginners, home gym variation. I'm just going to share. This is a good one. That's more of a natural carryover to a real pull-up versus the assisted pull-up machine. So stick with the assisted pull-up machine for now, and then when you're ready to graduate, try this one. Pull up. I'm just calling it pull-up video. Post a link there. That's a good one that you can transition to when you feel you've outgrown the assisted pull-up machine. All right. What else we got here? A second now. And Roshers, thank you so much for your support. Again, glad to help you with your questions, and thanks for the support. Much appreciated. All right. Every little bit goes a long way, guys. And again, thank you. What else we got? I'm going to get ready and clue it up shortly because we've been going an hour and 24 minutes, and my throat is getting a bit hacky. Even though I got to say, I'm quite pleased with my recovery over the past week. If this was a few days ago, I would not be doing a video chat today because I felt like crap. But I'm getting over the bulk of the COVID symptoms very quickly. Even though I'm still testing positive, I've overcome the lack of energy and the aches and the pains and the fever and the chills and all the the shit pain that you go through, if you will. And I'm starting to get back to normal. All I really feel now is just a hacky throat, and obviously my strength and energy is still not there. Like, I haven't tried exercising with any intensity other than going for a walk, which I actually made a video about that the other day. That's the most intense thing I've done all week, is go for a very casual walk. One more question here. John is saying, how can you tell if you have more slow muscle fibers in that muscle? I mean, without actually getting a biopsy done to tell, you really don't know. But generally speaking, it's your body type will tell. Like, people who have a lot of fast twitch muscle fibers tend to have more of a thicker, bigger, more muscular build, because the fast twitch are the bigger muscles. So if when you look at like the stereotypical sprinter versus marathon runner, like a sprinter would have more fast twitch fibers than a marathon would have more slow twitch fibers. So you can kind of tell by the look of the physique. But the performance, like, some people are really good for high intensity, explosive, short duration exercise. Like, again, using the sprinter marathon analogy, like a sprinter could explode into a very high intensity run for a short duration, but they can't sustain it. Whereas a marathon runner, they don't have that top end explosive power, but they can keep going, like the Energizer Bunny, right? So that's how you have to look at it, is like, how do you perform? Are you more of a high repetition, high endurance type of guy, or are you more heavy, low rep type of guy, right? What's your personal preference? Now, we will have a combination of both, but generally some people may have a preference for one or the other. And ironically, I find, even though I've done a lot of bodybuilding over the years, I'm not the super explosive, high intensity type of training. Like, I've actually, as I've gotten into cycling and more endurance training in recent years, that tends to be like a forte of mine. Like, I've got pretty good endurance, and I can keep going for the long duration. So even though I did do bodybuilding and did okay with it, I never succeeded at the high level. I mean, heck, the best I ever did in bodybuilding was winning a local provincial championships after 12 years of competition. So, I mean, yeah, it was a victory, but when you look at people who succeed in bodybuilding, like, hell, most people after 12 years of competition, if they've got the genetics to do anything, they're already at the pro level, and they're not winning the local shows, they're winning pro shows, or something, if they really got what it takes. So I don't have the best hand of genetics when it comes to bodybuilding, but looking back at it, I probably had decent genetics when it came to endurance. So I don't know, like, if I could go back in time and change things, would have, maybe I should have focused more on the endurance training than bodybuilding training. Maybe I would have went further with that. I don't know, but I can just tell with my own workouts. Sometimes, like, the longer duration, higher repetition stuff, like, I think I have a more proportion of those slow twitch muscle fibers, because I tend to have. I've just noticed that that's something that I've actually been quite good at. What else we got there? I need some of that training, Mike and his meal plan. Like Mike and his meal plan. Okay, if you want some help with that, feel free to reach out to me. Right? If you would like to see, what Mike is doing, a sample of, like, that training program, the sample of his nutrition program, kind of see if we can modify it and kind of tailor that to fit you and your situation. Feel free to reach out to me. Right? All you have to do is pop open the description below this video, I'll have my email address down there as well as my Facebook, and message me over on Facebook, and we can have a chat, discuss you, your goals, your situation, what it is, you're trying to achieve, all that kind of stuff, and see if we can map out a realistic action plan that works for you. Right? That's available for you and for anybody watching this. If you would like some help with that, feel free to reach out to me. We can discuss it. All right. And with that being said, guys, I'm going to get ready and clue it up. I know there's still some other questions there, but I'm going to get ready and clue it up because my wife has dinner on the table and my voice is not going to last much longer. So I have to clue it up. Thanks for the support. Thanks for tuning in. And again, thanks for the likes and the hearts I see popping up there on the screen. Much appreciated. And again, if there's anything I can do to help you with your fitness journey, feel free to reach out to me. We can have a chat offline there, see if we can map out an action plan. And in the meantime, if you want to follow along and keep the conversation going throughout the week, join us over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. All right, I know a lot of you are tuning in right now through Facebook, but if you're not, just go do a search on Facebook for Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding, and you will see the group. Request to join, and I will add you to our group. And this is a great way to keep that conversation going. And like a lot of guys, they either, not only are they asking questions and getting help throughout the week, but you can share your own training progress, share your own progress photos, like interact and chat with the community and get some support and feedback from like-minded people who are there to help and support one another. So if you would like to be part of the group, feel free to search for us over on Facebook. And again, links in the description below. Check us out, and we'll keep the conversation going throughout the week. All right. I'm going to clue it up, and have yourself a fantastic weekend, and look forward to talking to you same time next week. Take care. Over and out.